One entire year has passed since the reveal and announcement of Metroid Dread. Originally, I wasn't going to make a video on this, truth be told, because what could I really say? Everything I wanted to say on Metroid Dread, I've said, and to my most recent Metroid Dread videos, I've been repeating myself a lot. I've constantly brought up, what the game meant to me. I even made an entire video about that when the game was originally announced. I've talked about how my early YouTube videos on this channel, or my last channel rather, how my earliest YouTube videos were based around Metroid Dread and Prime 4, and how this game becoming a reality felt like verification for me as a fan that all my wishes were being listened to. So I didn't want to repeat myself again with this video, so there's not really much else I can say about it, but I felt like I wanted to talk about it anyway because I love talking about Metroid, so I said I might as well throw this one out there for the record. So yeah, E3 2021, who could have seen this coming realistically? I already talked in my last video about how, Metroid Prime 4 had been delayed. There was rumors of a 2D Metroid going into E3 2021. And I was starting to believe them a bit, I was very on the fence about it really. But I did believe that if there was going to be a 2D game, it would be Dread, because not only because of T's and Sam's returns, but eventually Nintendo would have to address the latest point in a timeline after Fusion. They can't ignore it forever. Metroid 5 is an inevitability. And lo and behold, that was the case. When Metroid Dread was announced, I lost my mind. It was such an incredible trailer. And I guess that's really what I want to focus on in this video, now that I think about it. The trailer itself, because when you really look at it, it's so amazingly crafted. And I say that in the point of view that they name drop the game twice in that trailer. Metroid 5 and then Metroid Dread. How many other games can you think of have done that? Not many. It's not often you see a game have two titles and have them both addressed in a trailer. But Nintendo wanted to be clear as possible with this game. They wanted to make sure there was no miscommunication. They showed that it was Metroid 5, so we knew exactly what we were looking at. And then they showed it was Dread. It was really brilliant from that point of view. And obviously, showing it off with that brief glimpse of the new suit of Samus in her blue armor. And you barely even have a second to process it before you get greeted with the fact that this is Metroid 5, which is, even saying that out loud, it still doesn't feel real. Over a year later, it doesn't feel real. And then, we get to some cutscenes and then jump straight into gameplay. There was plenty of gameplay. Then the reveal that it's coming out this year, and the fact that it's Dread, it's that same game from 15 years ago. And then, much to my surprise, immediately afterwards, Sakamoto did a development history video. That shocked me, but as he was making it, I was kind of thinking, okay, this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're going to skirt around it. They might mention the fact that it was planned 15 years ago, or they might just talk about how it came into being after Samus Returns. But no, they went a lot more in depth than I thought they would. Not as much as I would have liked, but they still went far enough. We found out that the game had been in development twice before. He went into details about new mechanics and gameplay ideas, that sort of thing. And then, as if we weren't spoiled enough, the Nintendo Treehouse comes along and we get 20 minutes at the start. It's the very first game they show. And then, even more surprising, another 20 minutes at the end. So in total, we had 40 minutes of Metroid content at E3 last year, which just, given the state the Metroid franchise was in at that time, is just really shocking. We hadn't gotten a game in 4 years. The game we were waiting on was who knows how long away. It just didn't seem like there was a lot of hope or light at the end of the tunnel, and then suddenly it explodes. Everyone is talking about Metroid in the blink of an eye. Obviously, the Amiibos get announced, the Special Edition gets announced. There was just so much hype around Metroid. And then what I thought was really cool and not enough people gave credit for was the Metroid Dread reports. On the Metroid website, They did these reports, I believe, every 3 weeks. It was every 2 or 3 weeks. They did 10 of them up to the release of the game, and then they did an 11th shortly afterwards when they released the free updates, which I didn't really find out about until I just happened to look back in nostalgia, and I found it was a recent Dread report, which was interesting. But anyways, that was really cool. They gave us a lot of cool insights into the game, and it really kept the hype and the marketing going. It was nice to sort of, it felt like having this direct line with Nintendo and with Mercury Steam. It felt like, I know I can't speak for everyone here, but I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat as me. It felt like we were being addressed directly, and it just felt like all our like wishes and dreams were being answered, especially in some of those reports where they talk about sequence breaking and how Metroid Dread is, it's very modern, but it's also keeping the DNA of Super Metroid and the other 2D games, and how it's going to go back to that sort of level of openness while also staying non-linear but also confined. And that's just the brilliance of it, really. Obviously, the next few trailers they did were all really exciting. They did get a bit spoilerish. The whole thing with Kraid sparked controversy. But the big thing was, for me, was that there was this leak. Not a lot of people saw this, thankfully, but unfortunately, I was one who did. There was this leak where we saw the X-Parasite. And, like, it was already a thing, you know, a lot of people already believed full heart that the X-Parasites were going to be in the game. I was under the belief that they weren't, that it was a setup by the Federation, that the X weren't actually there, that they were truly extinct. But no, this spoiler kind of confirmed it for me, and thankfully it didn't ruin the game for me. I still enjoyed the game, and there was some cool moments there, but that was something I wish I hadn't seen. And I do wish overall that the game didn't involve the X-Parasites. That's kind of one of its weak points, I feel. But we'll talk about that in my 1 year video for when the 1 year video for the game's release date, which will be in October. And for that, I'll do a full in-depth video on it. But for this, I just wanted to talk about that original trailer, some of the subsequent trailers, the marketing, the Dread reports, that sort of stuff. As I said, I've already given my thoughts on the actual meaning of the game and its history and its significance. And I'll no doubt talk about all of that again once we get to the 1 year anniversary of its release. But to touch lightly on it here, because I suppose it is relevant, back in May 2021, a month before E3, you know, I'd gone through a family tragedy. I was at an all-time low, and it's just crazy to think about the timing that a month later, almost bang on a month, a few days less than a month, but almost bang on a month later, the game I had been imagining, fantasizing about being real for 8 years at that point, was announced. A bombshell out of nowhere. And yeah, of course, it's coincidence. Nintendo wasn't catering to me, obviously. But obviously, I'm sure you can imagine from my point of view, it's kind of funny how that all lines up, and it just made the whole thing even more special. That, like, you know, in my darkest moments, I get the complete opposite emotion a month later. I get this extreme euphoria and shock that this was real. Talk about going on like opposite ends of extreme emotions. It was a weird time being sort of juggled back and forth. But yeah, to say Metroid 5 did a lot for me would be an understatement. And that's part of why I really look back fondly on that original announcement and the game itself and just everything, you know. I look back on it very fondly, and I will cherish everything that led up to where we are now with the game. The marketing, the fact that Metroid as a community has expanded, the franchise is growing, sales numbers have improved. Not as much as we would have liked just yet, but it is the best-selling Metroid game at the moment. You literally couldn't ask for a better outcome here. Everything worked out the way it could, and that's really special, and that's something you can't really take away from that. As a Metroid fan, the whole situation in the end really turned out to be ideal. For the 35th anniversary, we got the continuation of the story, and it wasn't just Metroid 5. It was specifically the version of Metroid 5 that was cancelled years ago. Because that's the thing, when they said Metroid 5, they could have easily said, when they gave the full title, that it was a different game. It was Metroid something else. But in that last second, when we see the word Metroid, that last second before the word Dread appeared, felt like an eternity. Staring at the screen, it felt like time froze, because in my mind, this was it. This was the moment where my dream of Metroid Dread would be crushed or become actual reality. And after that long second, it flashes on screen and I just couldn't believe it. I was in the purest bliss I've ever been, that you could possibly be for a fictional product, really. And, I do wonder what would have happened if it wasn't Metroid Dread. If Metroid 5 was a different game and it wasn't the same concepts, if the game had a different title, how would I have reacted? There probably would have been an element of disappointment in there, but that's not something I have to think about or imagine too deeply, because we ended up in the best timeline overall. And yeah, I've said it before and I've said it again. The whole situation was it was exactly what the community needed. Those long droughts, all of those periods without games, without news, without everything, where we felt like we were being left out in the dryer, really. It didn't matter anymore. Suddenly it didn't matter. We got everything we'd been wanting for years, and that doesn't happen. This is one of those really rare and special moments in gaming that probably not going to experience again for a long time. Hopefully we experience it with Prime 4. Time will inform us how that goes, but as of right now, those are my thoughts 1 year on from the reveal of Metroid Dread. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. How did you feel when Metroid Dread was originally announced at E3 2021? What was your reaction? What was your reaction when the game came out? How did you feel about the marketing, all of that? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. I want to hear all your thoughts, what this game means to you, any emotional or personal experiences you have tied with it. Let's get a good discussion going on it, because I'd like to talk about the significance of this game, because it truly is significant. And yeah, with that all said, happy 1 year anniversary to the reveal of Metroid Dread. And yeah, we'll talk about this game again when the anniversary of its release comes around. But yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching and please subscribe. Novus Corvius out.